Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some breaking news coming out for you here. We're going to be talking about Russia in this video and this general here in particular. This is Colonel General Vladimir Zarunitsky. Okay, he's the head of the Russian Army's military academy of the general staff. Okay, and he's coming out and warning of a potential full-scale war with NATO and the West. Okay, so he's saying this. He said that the probability of Moscow becoming involved in a new conflict is significantly increasing. Okay, and what he's referring to here is a lot of meddling that the West is doing with what's going on in Ukraine. Because obviously the Russians are fighting Ukraine right now, right? And they've been sending weaponry to Ukraine, all kinds of equipment to Ukraine that's keeping Ukraine in this fight. And we also had that German military leak recently that several generals were having a phone call. And this information that they were talking about got leaked to the Russians, and the Russians put it out on their state news program. And supposedly during this phone call, these generals were discussing the fact that there were British troops on the ground in Ukraine firing Storm Shadow missiles at Russian troops. And also the fact that they were planning to send these Taurus missiles that come from Germany. These are very high-tech cruise missiles coming from Germany that were going to be fired inside of Ukraine and would require to put boots on the ground. That means German troops on the ground, aka NATO troops on the ground in Ukraine. And they were discussing the possibility of doing that and targeting, hitting targets like the Kerch Bridge, okay, and targets deep inside Russia, hundreds of kilometers inside Russia. So this is obviously creating a lot of tension. We also have Sweden that just joined NATO, and also Finland that joined NATO last year, which is right on the border of Russia. So there's lots and lots of tension here. And so some news that we had coming out recently. Let's talk about this just for a moment. Let's highlight this here. So there was a deadly Russian missile that struck close to Zelensky and Greek leaders' convoy. So this happened in the port of Odesa near the Black Sea. Zelensky was down here meeting with this prime minister. What was his name? Kyriakos Mitsotakis. Kind of a hard name to pronounce, but they were meeting together, discussing this war in Ukraine. Inside of Odessa, and while they were driving in their motorcade, there was a missile that landed very close to the motorcade, no more than like 500 to 800 meters near their motorcade. Okay, and they could literally see the plume of smoke apparently whenever this missile hit. So there was a lot of talk of whether their motorcade was targeted, okay, and whether this was deliberately done. We just had some information coming out here too. Let me show you this. This is on The Guardian that Dmitry Medvedev denies Russia targeted Zelensky's motorcade in Odessa strike. And it says here, Deputy Chairman of Russia's Security Council said today that Russia did not target Volodymyr Zelensky's delegation in a missile attack yesterday. And it says here, Medvedev said Russia would have hit its target if that had been the aim. I believe that. I believe they would, if they really wanted to target the motorcade, they probably would have done so. But is it possible that this missile that hit, potentially it was maybe in a way targeting them, but maybe they chose for it to miss on purpose to kind of like send a signal or a warning to Zelensky that they could have taken him out if they really wanted to? I'm sure that worried President Zelensky there for a little bit. So let me show you this warning now coming out from The Independent. Okay, Moscow warns of full-scale war. Look at that, full-scale war in Europe as Zelensky's motorcade almost hit. The president in Odessa to meet Greek prime minister on Wednesday when the missile hit close enough for the leaders to see the strike. A senior Russian officer has warned of a full-scale war in Europe after a missile strike killed 5 people and almost hit Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's motorcade. The president was in Odessa to meet Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis on Wednesday when the missile hit infrastructure close enough for the leaders to see the strike. It is estimated that the attack took place a mere 500 to 800 meters distance from the delegations. It comes as a senior Russian officer warned that the conflict in Ukraine could escalate into a full-scale war in Europe. Okay? Colonel General Vladimir Zarudnitsky, head of the Russians military academy of the general staff, said the probability of Moscow becoming involved in a new conflict is significantly increasing. So we've got lots of warnings coming out. I've been saying this for a long time that, so many warnings coming out from Russia. There's been a Dmitry Medvedev, Vladimir Putin. Okay, we're talks of nuclear war, all kinds of warnings coming out that this war over here is going to escalate. And to me, what's really escalating this conflict a lot right now is the fact of this German military leak the other day proving that there are British troops on the ground firing Storm Shadow missiles into Russia. The possibility of an escalation of the conflict in Ukraine from the expansion of participants in proxy forces used for military confrontation with Russia to a large-scale war in Europe cannot be ruled out, state news agency RAA cited him saying. So he's talking about expansion of participants in proxy forces used for military confrontation with Russia. So, obviously, Ukraine, in a way, is a proxy fighting group for Russia, right? They're using Ukraine, giving them weapons, and they're just using their troops to fight against Russia. But now we're starting to see, we're getting a lot of news that we know for sure British troops are on the ground in Ukraine. I don't know why that's not a major red flag to Russia. I'm sure it is, but I'm surprised they're not acting on that right now. And then also we have potential that there could be French troops on the ground. We've had... there was a story not too long ago I remember hearing about that there were French mercenaries inside of Ukraine, and Russia was accusing the French of having mercenaries there. And also we've got French President Emmanuel Macron coming out and warning that he's not willing to rule out troops on the ground in Ukraine. So he's willing to send French troops to Ukraine. We're having protests inside of Paris with citizens there that are protesting to tell Emmanuel Macron, don't send troops to Ukraine. They don't want to get involved there. Okay, so it says he added, the likelihood of our state being purposefully drawn into new military conflicts is significantly increasing. So, take it with what you want, but these warnings are coming out all the time. I'm consistently reporting these, just like this general here, Vladimir Zarudnitsky. Okay, lots and lots of warnings coming out that this war could, at any moment, really, if you think about it, just any day, could just turn into a full-scale war here, and NATO and Russia could be battling it out very easily, okay? And we have lots of warnings, too. Russia is their defense spending's at like 7%. Okay, the U.S. is talking about bumping theirs up as high as like 5%, maybe even higher very soon, like this year. And many other countries in Europe are starting to do the same thing. They're starting to boost their defense spending. They're starting to boost their production of weaponry. Obviously, they need to refill their stocks and supplies that they've been sending to Ukraine. But at the same time, everybody can see that there's a war, a major war that's building up here. And a lot of this is going to be, Russia versus the West, maybe even China, North Korea. Who knows who else is going to get involved here. And this could easily turn into a war and break out over here and just turn into chaos. So these countries are actively preparing right now. Whether you think this is like fear-mongering or whatever it might be, these countries are preparing for this right now, especially Russia. Okay, especially Russia and the West. These two adversaries are definitely preparing for war actively right now. So let me know what you think down below. Comment down below and share your thoughts. If you got something out of this video, please smash the like button. And also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing and also hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And I hope you all have a great day. Thanks again so much for tuning in. Everybody take care and God bless. We'll see you in the next one.